Hello, everyone. Susan Gerbic from Psychics Explained. I'm just finishing my breakfast over here, getting ready to go out and work on my front yard. So I thought I'd record this quick video. I'd made a note yesterday when I made a video about Cheryl Murphy, Kelly Eckersley, and how they did not mention anything that has to do with the upcoming COVID, lockdowns and the nightmare that happened with COVID. And that's a longer video. um I'm just trying to look and see, did anybody predict it? I'm looking all over the earth to find this information that must be there somewhere. Somebody must have predicted it, and I don't understand why people are still going to psychics if they don't really benefit us, really, right? So I made myself a note and I'm crossing it off right now. I like to get things done, which is why I'm supposed to be spending the day in the yard. And one of the things I wrote down was to tell you about this article that Ben Radford, a friend of mine, dear friend of mine, wrote. So in 2008, a book by Sylvia Browne. You guys remember Sylvia Browne? Her book called End of Days. She wrote this small paragraph. I want to read it to you. It says, in around 2020, a severe pneumonia-like illness will spread throughout the globe, attacking the lungs and the bronchial tubes and resisting all known treatments. Almost more baffling than the illness will be the fact that it will suddenly vanish as quickly as it arrived, attack again 10 years later, and then disappear completely. Okay, that was her prediction. If that's all you knew, that sounds pretty amazing. It sounds like she predicted the onset of what we later knew as this coronavirus, COVID-19, we came to know. That sounds freaking amazing. And it's very important for people like Ben Radford and others to break this stuff down for people, because most of the world is busy. They're surviving, they're dealing with their children, they're trying to work on their education, they are just trying to make a living and scrape by. Some are working multiple jobs, some are taking care of their parents, some people are ill. We do not have the time to sit and research each of these things individually. Do not blame society for not being on top of everything that you think they should be on top of. It's it's just not knowable, everything out there that is going on. Yeah, I would suspect that if somebody told me that Sylvia Browne predicted this illness, that I hope you would have some skeptical notions. You would say, that sounds a little unusual. I don't know about that. Did that really happen? And not just believe it full force and go, oh, well, she did. Somebody said she did. So Ben Radford breaks it down. He says that Snopes also broke it down, but Snopes said it was kind of a mixed bag on what was actually going on. You guys should check out Snopes, Snopes. It's a really interesting website, breaks down urban legends and rumors and things like that. And they really take a deep dive into it. And then they rate it depending on the validity of the claims. But here's what Radford says. If you look at this, this is only a couple sentences long. First thing, and I'll put a link to this in the description of this video that you're watching right now. In around 2020, okay, we'll start with that. So, yes, it did happen in 2020. And yes, she did write this before 2020. Radford says that the word around is a wiggle word. So he's saying, it could be 3 years before, 5 years before, 5 years after. It's not specific. It did hit because it is 2020, but adding the word around is kind of one of those fudgy words. We noticed this because it did hit, right? The next thing she says, a severe pneumonia-like illness will spread throughout the globe. Yes, it does spread all over the globe. It affects everyone. Whether you get it or you don't, there are repercussions on every single human being pretty much, because you might not be able to go and do the things that you normally would have done, or you are completely isolated, or your education, you're not able to go to school in person anymore, or classes are canceled, or everybody's affected by this. You can't go to the restaurants you like all the time. People have to lose their jobs, or they're working tons of hours, right? Okay. So it affects everyone. But a severe pneumonia-like illness, it is not a pneumonia-like illness, though you can get pneumonia. But coronavirus was not a pneumonia-like illness. All right. It attacks the lungs and the bronchial tubes. Okay. It gets in your lungs and your bronchial tubes, I assume. I'm not a epidemiologist or a virologist or a doctor or anything like that. And it says resisting all known treatments. Now we know that is not true. We know that there are treatments that was able to help better people. Known? Yeah, I guess so. So they were able to help people out. Almost, okay, the next sentence. Almost more baffling than the illness itself will be the fact that it will suddenly vanish as quickly as it arrived. Well, we know that didn't happen unless you have a different meaning of the word quickly. I guess if you're looking on like the scale of dinosaurs and how long that they were around, then yeah, coronavirus is pretty dang quick. It is like not even a snap of the fingers quickly if you look at it in that time scale. But no, that wasn't quick. And then it says it'll appear 10 years later. So 2030? Well, maybe, especially with the administration we have in charge of our health right now, and then disappear completely. So we know that this is true because Kim Kardashian shared it. She's that woman, I tell you. It says Kim Kardashian shares message from psychic Sylvia Browne, seemingly predicting coronavirus. It says Kim Kardashian West, a woman who didn't see her own mess, a nightmare with Kanye West coming. She should have asked a psychic. She seems to know enough of them. All right. Kim Kardashian West and her family are sharing some shocking predictions from the late psychic Sylvia Browne on Wednesday night amid mounting concerns surrounding the coronavirus outbreak. The 39-year-old reality star shared a 2008 passage supposedly written by Browne, who died in 2013. What do you mean supposedly written? There's a lot of people who say Sylvia Browne used a ghost writer. Who knew? All right. So what Ben Radford is saying is what I just told you, that there's an infinite date range in around 2020, which depends on how loosely you interpret the word around. And a severe pneumonia-like illness, and he says it's not a pneumonia-like illness. And he says that about 80% of people who get coronavirus have mild symptoms and recover just fine, and the disease has a mortality rate of between 2 and 4%. Now, Ben was writing this in April of 2020. Yeah, April 10th, 2020. So we already had some knowledge, but we didn't know how long it was going to last or anything like that. I mean, it's still around. I'm recording this February, August 3rd, 2025, and it is still around. It's still nasty. So he says that it has a mortality rate of between 2 and 4%. At the time he wrote this is what he knew. He says there are two types of coronaviruses, severe acute respiratory syndrome and Middle East respiratory syndrome, that can cause severe respiratory infections, but COVID-19 is not among them. Both SARS and MERS are more deadly. Okay. It spreads around the globe, attacking the lungs, resisting all known treatments. He says that COVID-19 doesn't resist all known treatments. In fact, doctors know exactly how to treat, though not effectively vaccinate or quarantine, which are different measures, the disease. And it's essentially the same for influenza or other respiratory infection. There's nothing unique about COVID-19's resistance to treatments. One of the big problems is that there was just a flood of people at once, fresh again on this unprepared medical world of people. Like we have flu seasons and so on. I think that they probably gear up for that kind of thing, but we just weren't prepared for the influx. And it was happening so fast, and quarantining and all that other stuff. All right. Right. So I'll leave this for you to read. So he says, so we have a 2-sentence prediction written in 2008 by a convicted felon. Yes, it was a convicted felon with a long track record of failures. Half of the prediction have demonstratedly not happened. The other half of the prophecy describes an infectious respiratory illness that does not resemble COVID-19. And maybe 1/6 of what she said is accurate, depending on how much latitude you're willing to give her in terms of dates and vague descriptions. Anyone who finds this prediction to be astoundingly accurate should contact me for information on a bridge I happen to have for sale. Keep in mind that in her books, television appearances, interviews, and elsewhere over the course of her career, Browne has made thousands of predictions. The fact that this one happened to possibly maybe be partly right is meaningless. People love a mystery, and retrofitting vague predictions, whether from Browne, Nostradamus, or anyone else. Okay, so he's exactly right. And as I said, he wrote this in April of 2020. So it's early on in the pandemic, of course. And he is saying that essentially that she made a prediction that sort of vaguely fits and whatever. Here's what I say, and anybody follows the channel realizes that I'm going to say this because I know you're here thinking it right now. What is missing? Well, anything very specific. And was this helpful? I mean, she wrote this in 2008. Why were we ready in 2020 for this worldwide pandemic, that this horrible thing that happened? If she predicted it, Kim Kardashian West, if she did make this prediction, why was it so awful? Shouldn't we have known? Shouldn't we have had some sort of, force working on the vaccine already for it, been working on global health, not cutting funding for global health? Why were we so blindsided? I mean, we've all known about possible pandemics and so on over the decades. Of course, we've known about this, and there's supposed to be a plan. I don't know. I lived through it and you lived through it, and it felt like we were just blindsided. I mean, seriously. So why were we blindsided whenever Sylvia Browne predicted it? So I don't know. And Ben is 100% right. Sylvia Browne wrote like 20 or 30 books, or with her name on it. Somebody wrote 20 or 30 books with her name on it. And don't you think that sometimes some of those are going to be right? And then if we go back and we retrofit it, which is what we're doing here. And Kim Kardashian and whoever she heard it from, because I'm sure she wasn't directly one reading the book saying, aha, I remember this passage in one of Sylvia Browne's books that I've got memorized. I doubt that somebody shared it with her. And the idea of retrofitting it is what we do. We try to find meaning for things. Um, maybe there was a prediction for it. There was no prediction. So anyway, I'll put this in the description so you can read it. Make sure you follow Ben. He does amazing work. He has a master's degree in public health. I think he also has a master's degree in psychology, I believe. And so he's like the expert on cryptids and ghosts, and he does work with psychics, and he's just a wealth of information. He writes a column for Skeptical Inquirer. He gives talks. He has a really awesome podcast with Celestia Ward called Squaring the Strange. It's very fun, and they go over a lot of mysteries, and they are very empathetic, which is something I think we need to be practicing a lot more. Understanding why it is that people are in the positions they're in with this misinformation. So give him a follow on all the socials. Check him out. He's written many books, and there might even be some behind me. I don't know. I've got bookshelves all over the place, so it might be over there or over there. I don't know. But I'm ready. It's 9:30 in the morning, my time. It's gray outside, which is perfect weather for working in the yard. I have no cat on me, which is amazing. And maybe they'll come outside and hang out with me and lay around and be cat-like for me and help me out with the, I don't think so. But I hope you guys have a great day. I've got lots in store still, and I will talk to you later. Oh, please like and leave me comments. I really would appreciate it. And if you would subscribe, if you find this useful or helpful in any kind of way, even though it's old, I mean, this is 5 years ago, I still think it's really important to know these kinds of things and to remember where we're going with what's happening in the world of the paranormal, because I think this is fascinating. Okay. So take care, everybody.